he'd already driven into the office and everything to come get his adjustment. He still smelled like dinner, and I was like, oh, well, you're gonna have yummy Mexican food tonight. So, all right, cool. Let's get started. Tonight, we're talking about how to sharpen your mind. Really exciting topic about just being able to harness our mind and what we're thinking about, especially with everything that's going on right now, when it feels like things are chaotic and out of control, and just we're getting a lot of negative, news and media. Like, what do we do with that? How do we harness that to help us in the long run, especially when it comes to just our mental well-being, but also our physical well-being as well. So, a couple admin things really quickly. Want everybody to know, yes, we are open, and we are here to serve you guys. We have added a couple new policies this week to just make sure we're up to date on everything that's going on. Most of them we were already doing, but a couple of things we had to change was we are no longer doing roller tables in the office, and we are taking everybody's temperature. So if you've already come in this week, you've noticed that we are doing that. It's a fun new thing that we're doing for everybody, just to make sure that we're keeping ourselves safe, but also everybody that enters into the office safe. So, and then last thing, Dr. Darby is doing a talk next week, April 8th, on Wednesday at 7:30. So this is something we're just gonna be doing every week. It's really fun to be able to meet and be with all of you people until we can actually all meet and be together in person. But until that time, we'll just keep doing these virtual classes. So I'm going to start sharing my screen here. And let's jump. Okay. So do you see my title? How to Sharpen Your Mind? Give me a thumbs up. Some people. Okay, perfect. All right. So a little bit about me, because I know not all of you see me in the office. On the left-hand side here is my beautiful family. They're really the reason why I do everything in this world. So Dr. Darby and Judah, this was us hiking in Golden a couple weeks ago, and then if you were on the Zoom call last week, you already know that we are having a baby, or if you've seen me recently, I have a big beach belly or basketball belly going on, because this baby is due in July, so we're really excited about that. But at the same time, something that I am very, very passionate about is chiropractic and being able to help people. And so if you see on the right here, one of the things that I absolutely love about chiropractic is being able to help people from all walks of life, any stage of life, from newborn babies. I've had the honor of adjusting several infants the day they were born, to kids, middle-aged people, great grandmas and grandpas. And that is the cool thing about chiropractic. Like, it can help anybody at any stage of life. Even, you can see down here, stuffed animals, because sometimes our tigers need adjustments too. So we do that for the kids. It makes them feel good. They get adjusted, and they're like, you know what, my tiger needs an adjustment too. We're like, all right, let's go. So I love what I do, and I love that I get to be here with you guys and do this virtual class as well. So anything that we can do to serve you guys and just provide more content for you and get your superpowers tuned up, we are all for it. So, all right. Tonight, where are we going? Does what we think about really matter? What happens to our body and our immune system when we're stressed out? And what are the 5 things that you can do to get out of stress? So before we dive into those things, I figured we all need a little bit of humor. There's all this tragedy going on. We need some humor. So this is how proper handshakes are going to go from now on, okay? We're all going to start doing the Spock, live long and prosper. Homeschool, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Said no parent ever who's having to learn how to homeschool right now. There was some other ones, but they weren't as appropriate as the ones they chose. And then this one I really like too. Let me see if I can move this for a second. It says, Corona Beer changes their name to avoid the association with the coronavirus outbreak. So they will now be known as Ebola Extra. So one of the things that I've noticed lately is with all this tragedy going on and all the negative that we're seeing, there has been actually a lot of humor and funny things that have come out of it, like these funny memes. There's a lot of funny videos out right now. And it just shows you that everything in this world has a balance, right? There's tragedy and there's joy. There's positives and negatives. And that's a lot of what we're going to be going into tonight, is how everything in the world is really at a balance. It's just how do we get our minds there to be able to think about it. All right, so I have a question for you just to start this off. What if this is the new normal? What if, now I'm not saying, you know, the lines to get into Costco or the masks or the specific senior shopping times is going to stay around forever. Eventually, Corona is going to go away, but this is our reality for the next month, probably for the next few months, and things are going to change because of it. Just like when 9/11 happened, things changed on how we did things as a society. And so, what if this is actually starting to look like normal? What if we're not on a detour? What if this is the path? It makes you think about things a little differently, right? It's not just, oh, I just need to survive these next 2 weeks and things will go back to normal. But if this is normal, then what do I do with that? How do I take care of my family? How do I connect with my community? How do I make sure that what I'm doing is valuable and serving other people? Can you see, as I'm starting to ask these questions, it actually gets your mind thinking. You start kind of answering those on your own. And that's another thing we're going to talk about, is just the power of the questions that we ask ourselves. So, does it really matter what I think about? Yes. Yes, it does. It really matters. Have you ever had a dream or a goal, you know, maybe years ago, and then you look back on your life and realize, you know, that dream that I have, I'm living it right now. It is a reality. A really great example I love is actually Dr. Darby. So when we graduated from chiropractic school, his mom pulled out his high school yearbook, and in it he had set his goals for, like, what do you want to be when you grow up type thing. And he said, I want to be in the health field and I want to live in the Rocky Mountains. And so now today he's a chiropractor and he lives in Colorado, which I would say is the best state, probably the best place to live in the world, but it is in the Rocky Mountains. And so just the power of setting that goal and setting that intention, like, that became a reality for him. The same is true on the opposite side. When we focus on the negative, like the media and everything that's telling us about disease and death, and all of our thoughts are focused on disease and death, then the likelihood of our reality starting to reflect that is really high. The likelihood of disease and death showing up in our life is going to happen. And so if you look at the placebo effect, they've done hundreds of studies on what our mind thinks about and what it believes. And the placebo effect tells us that if you believe something is true, then it's going to be true. If you believe you are well, or this thing is going to make you feel better, then it's going to make you feel better. If you believe that no matter what, you're going to be in pain, then you are going to be in pain. And so that's pretty crazy to think about, like, how powerful our mind is. How powerful that, like, the things that we think about become our reality. You know, if you really think about it, every thought that you've had is producing the life that you're living right now. And so if our mind has that much power over what our reality shapes into being, does it have the same power over our own bodies, specifically when we're stressed out? Why, yes, it does. I'm glad you asked. So, when we are stressed out and we're worried about things or we're anxious, we release adrenaline and epinephrine into our body. Those are hormones for our body. And we get symptoms from that. We get tight muscles and sleeplessness and a racing mind, trouble with digestion, increased inflammation, decreased immune function. Now, if you're hiking through the woods and then all of a sudden, oh, I went backwards, boom, this bear comes out at you, then all of these things are a great thing to happen to our body. We need those tight muscles to run away. We have sleeplessness because we don't need to sleep. We need to be alert and awake. Our mind is racing because it's literally processing everything that's going on in our environment and trying to find the best way to get out, to get to safety. We don't need to digest our food because that takes too much time. We just need immediate movement and survival. We have increased inflammation because if that bear mauls us, we need to be able to quickly start healing that wound. And then we have decreased immune function because our immunity, our immune function in our body is actually meant for things like sickness and disease, colds and flus and cancers and all that stuff. Well, that takes time. That takes days and weeks to develop. If there's a bear coming after us, our body only cares about surviving in that moment. It doesn't care about tomorrow or days or weeks from now. So we need that to be dampened. All of that makes sense. It's totally normal response. The problem is, well, the great thing is that we as humans have the ability to think, but with great power comes great responsibility, right? And so our body can't distinguish between reality and imagination. It can't distinguish between an actual bear coming at us and us worrying and stressing and having anxiety over something that's going on, like this corona, like finances or self-isolation. It can't distinguish the difference. And so our body responds the same way. Our mind gets in a lower thinking function of our brain. We're more in a reactive state. We're more emotional. And our immune system gets dampened because our body and our mind is telling us that we need to survive right now. So this is the state that a lot of us are in. A lot of us are processing at this level right now. And so we're going to go over 5 keys to get out of stress. 5 things that you can do right now to get out of stress. Number 1, get adjusted. The chiropractic adjustment stimulates the brain and the nerve system, and it switches your body from stress to ease. So these are just a few studies that are quoted, and if you want to see more, we actually have it on our blog, on our website. You can see the link down below. But these are just some studies that go into like what is going on. So yes, they found that increased stress decreases your immune function and your immune response. The chiropractic adjustment decreases stress levels in your body, and it increases proper immune response. So this is actually a patient of mine, you can see a couple weeks ago, March 5th, okay? She came in and we did an exam on her, and she had a lot of stress going on. So you can see this little square right here, that's her. And you can see, so down here it says sympathetic. So she is in her fight or flight or stress response of her body. And now we want to be in parasympathetic, and we really want to be about at the line, because we want to be able to be in a state of ease and rest and repair, but we also want to be able to easily get into a sympathetic response if a bear comes upon us, and then easily get back into parasympathetic. Okay, that's the goal for our body. And so you can see when she started, she was way up here and in a stress state. Then we adjusted her And we did this test again, and you can see she's right on that line. And so not even, look at up here, not even 10 minutes later, we switched her from stressed out to a state of ease. And that's pretty powerful considering I'm maybe spending 30 seconds to do the adjustment. How many of you in 30 seconds can get from this state of fight or flight to a state of ease? Now, you could do the reverse pretty quickly if you like chugged like, 5 Red Bulls or something. But it's very powerful. And the cool thing is this test that we do in our office is the same test that they did for these studies. So the same technology that we're using in our office is the same technology they were using in these studies that found these results. So that's number 1, get adjusted. Number 2 is you want to balance any event to neutral, okay? So everything in life is balanced, right? There's good and bad. There's a hero and there's a villain. There's a positive and a negative, right? Any story, if there was no hero and no villain, then there wouldn't be a story or a movie or anything like that. You wouldn't want to watch it. Same with like a magnet. A magnet has 2 sides. It has a positive and a negative. A coin has 2 sides. Like even myself, as much as many of you believe that I am probably all good, my husband can attest that that is not true and that I have some bad parts of me. And so it doesn't matter what happens in life, every event has a positive and a negative, okay? And we need to get it to balance because if we spend too much time in either state, we could become polarized. So if you spend too much time in a euphoric state and everything is good and everything is awesome and fantastic, then it's not really true. And you're going to make decisions from that state that are more reactive and reckless. If everything is bad and terrible and fearful, then you're going to be reactive in that state and just reacting to what's going on. When we balance it, we can actually see things as they are. We can see the positives and the negatives and then make an informed decision and get out of the reactive states to a higher level of thinking, more critical, logical level of thinking instead of reactive and emotional. So specifically, I'm going to be talking about a lot of things that's going on right now is very negative. There's all of this, so to speak, doom and gloom. There's more studies coming out. There's more cases coming out. There's people dying. That's a lot of what we're seeing in the media. So to balance that, I challenge you to write out 20 benefits of this event happening to you. And then write out 20 people who have benefited from this happening to you. So I'll give you a couple examples. For me personally, what I've been worried about a lot lately is finances. How to make sure we're taking care of things from the business side, from the personal side in our lives, and what that looks like. What do the next several months look like? Will we have enough money? And so on and so forth. So it's really easy to get into those what ifs and start getting stressed out and worried about it. But I started looking at okay, what are the benefits of this happening? Well, one of the benefits was Darby and I have been talking about doing our budget and going through our, spending for months, and we just haven't done it. And this actually forced us to do it. So we sat down and we looked at all of our spending over the last quarter, in personally and in the business, and we looked at, okay, where are we spending money that we don't need to? Where are we investing in things that are still a good investment? How can we change our spending plan? So we started doing that. And so we realized, yes, we can eat home more. We can spend more time at home and do things for free as a family. And so that not only benefits our money financially, but it also benefits like Judah. We get to spend more time with him and find creative ways to hang out with him, like going for hikes or playing with his toys or different things like that. We also realized that Darby and I love coffee. And so just completely eliminating that from our spending plan was just not realistic. So instead we decided we can go out twice in a week and go spend money on coffee. And so what we decide is when we do that, we're going to our local coffee shops, some of our favorite places, so that we can support them in their businesses and help them maintain their business and keep growing and taking care of people as well. And so not only do we get the benefit of having great coffee, they get the benefit of us spending our money with them. So you see how this can just keep going. At first it'll seem kind of tricky. You'll come up with like 2 or 3 as you get into it, but then as you get going, it'll be easier and easier and easier. And then you'll be able to see, okay, this event is really just an event. I can see both sides of it now. And again, that gets your mind from this lower place of reaction and emotions to a higher place of logical thinking and problem solving. Okay, so that's number 2. So we got adjusted, we balanced the event. Now what do we do? Well, number 3, we reassess our goals. Right now is a great time. Like, all of us probably feel like we hit this speed bump, or, this wave came upon us. This was not the way we were planning to go. This was not what we thought our lives were going to look like. And so now is a really great time to rewrite our goals and reassess where we want to go. So what do you want to happen in the next 3 months or a year or 5 years from now? Like, write it all down. The nice thing about when we set our goals is it gets us, again, out of that reactive state, and it gets us out of chaos and into taking charge. It gives us a hope and a focus and something to start going towards. So personally, for Darby and I, we set our goals in 4 different categories. We feel that all of these are equally important, and we try to make sure that we have goals in all of these areas to make sure that they're all thriving. Okay? So love is like your relationships. What goals do you have for yourself, like loving yourself? What do you have for your family members, your spouse, your kids? What do you have for your community? Like, what are goals you want for those community members, your friends, your church? For health or like fitness, like what goals do you have? Like, what weight do you want to be? What does your new workout program look like? Is there a new hobby you want to start? Now is a great time to start something that you've always wanted to do. Like, you have the time to do it. So is there something in any of these 4 areas that you're like, I've always wanted to do this? Well, now is a great time to learn how to do it. Now is the time to set the time to do it and to set the goal. Career, a great question is, how can I be of more value in my career? Or where do I want to be in 3 months from now? Where do I want to be in my career a year or 5 years from now? What do I want to be doing? What goals, even just personally, do you want to hit? Like, I usually set my goals in my career of like how many patients I want to see, or like I love seeing pregnant patients and I love seeing, newborns. Like, how many of those do I want to see this year? And then money. So money is a great goal. Like, how much money do you want to save? Do you want to be a millionaire? Do you want to be a 5 millionaire? Go for it. Like, set those goals. Dream big. You can do it. All right, so we set our goals. We wrote them all down. Now what do we do? Well, number 4, we start asking ourselves questions. You want to ask specific questions to your goals because that helps you figure out how you're going to achieve your goals. So we want to ask ourselves, how can I blank? So I already started even sort of asking those, like, how can I make $1 million? How can I incorporate cooking, which I love to do, with my family? How can I, continue to serve my practice members personally as we go through this? How can I, make sure that I'm intentionally connecting with Darby and that we're spending time together once a week without our son? How can I do that? And when you ask how can I questions, it starts answering them. Your brain will start answering them, even on a subconscious level. You'll start problem solving and figuring it out. And how can I says, I can do this, but how can I do it? Versus can I or could I? I had a patient who commented on Facebook about her son, and she was sad that she wanted something for him that she didn't feel like she could do. And so she asked, like, I wish I could do this for my son. And she's basically already saying, like, she can't do it. There's, like, the permission has not been granted. It's not going to happen. Like, that avenue is just closed. Instead of saying, like, you know, this may be hard, or it may be difficult, or it may not look like the way I wanted it to, but how can I provide this for my son? Because there's always a solution. Actually, one of my really good friends, he's sort of like a second dad to me. He always says, like, you know, there's no such thing as no. You just haven't asked the right question. You know, if you just continue to ask questions and figure it out, there's always a way to figure it out. There's always a way to make it happen. So, all right. So now we've started asking questions. The last thing we want to do is focus on gratitude. So write out and talk about what you're grateful for. Start with 5 to 10 things, and it's really easy. So for me personally, I like starting my day with it. So I wake up in the morning, and right away I write down 5 or 10 things that I'm grateful for. Another great thing to do is you can do it right before bed, and even just talking about it. Like, since we have so much time with our families now, like, sit down at dinner and talk about, like, hey, what are you grateful for? Like, name a couple of things you're grateful for. The reason this is powerful, because again, it helps balance our mind from only seeing the negatives of the day or of whatever's going on, to seeing that, hey, there's also positives too. There's always something to be grateful for. Now, you know, sometimes we need the reverse. Like, sometimes we feel like, man, this person, maybe you start dating somebody and they're like, they're so amazing. They're just, everything about them is sunshine and rainbows. Well, then you probably need to do the opposite and think about some of the things that aren't so great about them, just to balance it out. But with everything going on with Corona, it's a nice way to just, again, balance everything and get your mind settled and realize, okay, yeah, there were some really tough parts about today, or I learned some really not so great things, but, you know, there's some really great things going on too. And it could be anything. It could be, I'm grateful for pizza or sleep. I'm very grateful for sleep. I'm grateful for my spouse. I'm grateful for God. Whatever. It doesn't matter what you're grateful for, just that you realize that you are. So those are our 5 things. Those jumped really fast. We want to get adjusted to reduce stress in our body and improve proper immune function. We're going to balance any event we have to neutral, going over those 20 benefits. We want to reassess our goals, thinking about what do we want to look forward to, what do we want to focus on, where are we going. We want to ask ourselves questions, how can I achieve that said goal? And we want to focus on gratitude, writing out and talking about those 5 to 10 things that we're grateful for. And that is really what separates the super successful people from everybody else, is they're able to balance events, see them for what they are, get into that higher level of thinking, and then start solving problems. Because everything is really just a problem. We can't control, you know, what happens outside of us. We can't control events. We can't control, you know, like this chaos that's going on. But we can control how we react to it. We can control how our mind responds to it. And so using these tools is going to make you better and better at responding to events. It's going to help you get into a state of realizing that things are just balanced, and I can still achieve the goals I want. I can still figure out new ways to get there, and I can make sure that everything that I'm seeing is in its rightful state. There are positives, there are negatives. And so when you do that, it's making you a better person, and it's balancing your mind, which is getting you out of stress. But that in turn also helps your immune system, because when we're out of stress, our immune system goes back to its normal, healthy function. And that's what all of us want, right? We all want to make it through this better. And so one of my favorite speakers, and he's like basically the really well-known personal development speaker of our time, is Jim Rohn. And one of the things he says is, don't wish that the problems were easier. wish that you were better. And so with these tools, you're actually equipping yourself to be better and to handle things better and to have control of your mind and harness the power of it to help you get where you want to get. So that is all that I have for you. Do any of you have any questions?
What did you say the name of the author was?
Jim Rohn. So Rohn. So he is fantastic. I highly recommend him. You can watch a lot of his videos are on YouTube, and he's pretty funny. He's got like a funny little Western accent and everything.
So you gave us a couple of things to do. You said 20 benefits of things happening to me, and then 20 benefits of others.
Yep.
And then to sit down and set new goals for ourselves. And once we've done that, ask ourselves how we can do that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Maggie.
Hey, Dr. Ashley, what's the best way to pass this on to kids? Because sometimes they're at different developmental kind of stages. And so how can we as parents like really equip them to go out into this kind of strange world that's different for them, it's new for them?
That's a great question. One of the things to do is one, process with them. So when we show our kids like, hey, this is the problem that I'm dealing with and this is the steps that I'm taking, it's showing them, one, how to do that on their own. It's kind of like you show them how to do it, you teach them how to do it, and then they go off and be able to do that on their own would be the hope. But also just helping them see those things in their life as well. So when they're struggling with something, like helping them by asking those questions to them, helping them get their mind thinking and out of that reactionary state and into a place of thinking would be one of the tools that you could do.
I would piggyback on that. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. On that, by saying they don't realize it's a problem, or maybe like they don't see it as anything that you don't put it in a category. So from the get-go, if they're not set up to think something is a crisis or out of order, they almost, for me, I'm thinking in hindsight, just because mine are a little bit older than your little ones, Miss Ashley, that they won't even see it that way from the get-go. Mm-hmm. So they almost won't go in guarded, thinking, oh no, or read like an internal chemical reaction or a mindset. And then that way also from that, you kind of teach them to see things are all different shades, not one shade's good, bad, right, or wrong. It's like there's blue, but here's the shade of blue. So blue might be not a good thing, but here's the shade of it, and here's how you can ease into it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I do get that.
You didn't get it?
No, I do. I get what you're saying. And something I was thinking while you were talking about that was also not reacting. I think is really helpful for our kids. And that's something that I've learned to do. I'm not always good at. But when they are really emotional and going through stuff, it helps if you're very calm and even slowing down and slowing how you're speaking, because that's going to help them even just on the level of like, okay, this is not that big of a deal. This is not something I have to get all upset and reactive about. I can slow down. I can start thinking through this. Because if they're up here and we start coming up here with them, then it's not helping anybody and we're all getting upset and reactive and everything. But if they're up here and already like really high and reactive and you just slowly bring it down, they're able to calm down with us and calm down from that emotional aspect as well. Cool. Any other questions, any other insights, or do you want me to explain anything a little bit more? No? Nobody? All right, cool. Well, oh, I think Miss
I thought
Stephanie.
it was great. No, I liked what you said.
Thank you.
It's very easy to digest. I liked it because it gave my brain
Stuff to
places
think
to
about.
go. Yeah, yeah, and it's all, habit forming. I'm looking at my notes. I'm a big note taker. But because I reflect on it and then I try to pass it on. And then I see that for me, my kids, they're really great at adapting it. And I kind of borrow from them. Like with the little kids, like you were saying, maybe you're up here and you don't want to bring up there. I kind of borrow from them that they stay down here in their innocence and they just keep it simple.
Nice.
But no, I liked it. Thank you. This is very helpful.
Good. Stephanie, did you have a question? Stephanie.
Oh, I'm unmuted. No, I just did the little clap emoji because I really liked what you said. It was a great message.
Okay, cool. You're welcome. All right. All right. So we will do our next one next Wednesday. Dr. Darby, like I said, is going to be talking about movement and how that affects your life. So tune in then. And otherwise, I will see some of you in the office and I will talk to, I'm sure, the rest of you. All right. Have a great night, guys.